Hi folks, Six Slices here. Last time out in my Japanese collection, we had a look at a couple of Mcusta Knives. They're a company dating back to 1907. I'm going to look at another company. This is a bit more modern. This company was founded in 1964. The actual name of the company is Mcusta Kogyo. That's probably a terrible pronunciation, I'm afraid. But the brand that you will see is Mcusta. Mcusta is a portmanteau word made up from machine and custom. So what they're aiming to set out is production knives that have a consistent custom quality. And to some extent they've achieved it. There are one in particular shortcut, but rather than using stamped blanks and so forth, they go for laser cutting, precision pieces, but in the end the pieces are hand assembled to make sure that they kind of come together. Now, back the first one of the videos in my series had the Higo Nakami. Now, and I think I mentioned there that you have to have a knife called the Higo if you're going to be a Japanese knife maker. Seems to be the case, because this is, would you believe, the Higo. Now, the Higo is a double detent friction folder, which makes it borderline UK legal. There is a small issue around length, because it's quite long. It has a 3-inch cutting edge, but the overall blade length is something like 3 3/8. So, you know, by the strict letter of the law, the cutting edge is less than 3 inches or no more than 3 inches. So it should be okay, but I don't know how much you'd want to test that. That's up to you. That's your choice. I personally think it's probably okay, but you know, I'm a 55-year-old cripple, so my chances of being stopped and searched by the police are pretty slim, and my powers of persuasion are reasonably high, so I'd be comfortable with it. But it's as I always say, this isn't one I would give to my son to carry. I wouldn't give it to him anyway because it's beautiful. It's Cocobolo wood handles. The blade is VG10, as you can probably see. It's a Sanmai construction, which you probably won't see on camera, but you can just about make it out if you look at it very closely. What you can see is this sort of fake hamon. Looks like the hardening layer on the edge of a Japanese sword. It isn't at all. It's just because it's a Sanmai construction, you've got 2 different layers of steel, and that the way that's ground back makes it look like a hamon. So it's probably more accurate to say it's sort of like 3-layer Damascus. So you have one cladding on each side and the cutting layer in the middle. It does come in a really nice little brocade bag, which I really should have got out, but again, it's away in the cupboard full of boxes of knives. And it also comes with a pretty horrendous looking little cheap yellow, not really a lanyard, it's a sort of bit of ribbon, which I took off and put in the box straight away because I just thought it was horrendous. Plus, it was just put around the back spacer there, so I have a horrible feeling that over time, unless it's kept tight, there's a good chance that the tip of the blade will catch it. In terms of the sort of action of these knives, this is one-hand openable and closable, and if you had a little bit more dexterity than I have, because I have none, it would work very, very easily. I mean, I can open it and close it one-handed, but it takes me just a wee bit of time and a bit of manoeuvring, and because this is, as I think with all Japanese knives, it's sharp. I mean, that might sound odd, but you know, compared to a lot of knives that you pick up these days that come with sort of semi-sharp blades, these actually are, you know, razor sharp out the box. But there's these are Seki City. It was not the home of Japanese sword making, but it was a big centre of Japanese sword making for hundreds of years. And I believe at its peak there were something like 300 sword makers in Seki City. Now that's the. It's no way you could call it plain Jane, but at the same time, it is a relatively basic knife, no range. This one here, the Tactility, is taking things just upper level. I should say there's no clip on that one. It fits very well into the MKM magnetic pocket slip, and I tend to carry that in my pocket with the extended tang pointing up. Now the Tactility has a clip. This is where you kind of get they do everything really well, and then they go and do the clip like this. See, the screws stick right the way through inside. They stick up at the top. It is reversible, because I reversed it, of course. So it's practical and it works. And they've obviously gone to some bother to try and make the clip look attractive. But this, it's actually laser cut rather than file work. But it sort of looks a bit file worky. It does seem a bit of a letdown. But we've got steel liners, and we've got this. This is quince wood. Quince wood in a bowl pattern. Now they do it in various woods. They do a nice desert ironwood one actually, which I would sort of quite like, but I'm probably never going to get one because it's these are quite expensive, and I think there's only room for a limited number of knives the same in my collection, and I've broken that with Taylor's Eyewitness, so I'm not going to do that with Mcusta as well, collect all the knives. Plus, these are not especially cheap. I got this from Seven Ready in Switzerland. But, now, where this one does go a stage further, I'm not a fan of Damascus steel. I've said it before. I think the idea of mixing two steels together, back in the days when you had bloom steels like original Japanese Takahamane steel, you forge welded it in order to drive out impurities and to create a steel rather than an iron, and of some consistency, but or a uniform consistency. But nowadays, when you've got ingot steels and powder meta steels and so on, it seems a bit of an anachronism. However, this is the one way that I do, or I'm prepared to accept Damascus. I'm not going to seek it out. And this is as a Sanmai design, so a bit like the Higo. This is called the Tactility. I don't know if I mentioned that. This has 33 layer Damascus steel on either side with a VG10 core. Now, this one doesn't actually tell you that on the blade, which is slightly more unusual, but it just says Seki Japan Mcusta. They do this with a sort of spider hole type opening as well. I prefer the thumb studs. I don't get the Spyderco hole look really. This one is a liner lock, so it's also slightly larger than the Higo. Not a lot, but slightly. Certainly enough that it would be illegal in the UK to carry as an everyday carry knife. So this is a collection piece. Although I do actually use these knives quite a lot, because they're very sharp. It makes them very good for, cutting up my baguette when I'm doing my lunch. or something like that. Put them that way, you can see the show side of them. But you know, I really like these knives. I think they really are good looking knives. The one thing that does let them down, they both have Teflon washers. And whilst that's perfectly practical and you know, it works fine, it's the problem is that they do wear, and you can't replace them easily because these are not captive nuts. So if you try to undo these bolts, which are Loctited by the way, all they do is spin. Instead else Torx, and this one's hex. These tiny little hex Torx screws, I don't know what they are. They might be T6, but they might even be smaller than that. Yeah, these are beautiful knives. So I wonder if used as everyday carry knives, how well the Teflon washers would stand up, and what would be the consequences if they do wear out, and how you might go about replacing them. I mean, you could get them open. I'm sure you'd get them open eventually, but you would have to use heat and a good deal of you know, you're pressing the knife like that in order to lock the pivot in place. And I do think that that's just not having a captive pivot and not having them double tooled is just it's just wrong. By the way, it came with blue thumb studs, and this was blued. I don't really know why. I don't really quite understand the point of that, because apart from anything else, the blue on the thumb studs, 7 Ready had worn out that side, and I've worn out this side. And bearing in mind, it's had hardly, or the other way around actually, but it's had hardly any you know, strong everyday carry use, and the colour's gone. I'm always a bit dubious of that type of coloration or anodization. Steel, so I don't suppose it's anodized, but who knows? I don't know how you colour that steel. Anyway, the point of all this is these are two really nice knives, and I'm very happy to have them in my collection, even if I can only use one of them as an actual carry knife. But as carry knives, they work quite well. VG10 is not the most premium of steels these days, but it's perfectly adequate. Certainly better than sort of 440A or something like that you might carry. So and if you're using them for food prep, which I tend to, I prefer a stainless steel over a carbon steel. So I'm very happy with them. Anyway, really nice knives. If you like this stuff, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of them, there are 3 more to come, and 2 of them are very premium, and one will be a very, very short one because it just completes the collection, and that's all. I don't have an extensive Japanese knife collection, but you know, I'll show you what I've got. That's really the idea of this channel, was to work through the drawers here and just show you what I have in my collection, not to necessarily go out to build a great big YouTube channel. So as I say, if you want to see the rest of them, please subscribe. Remember to ring the bell. Okay, thanks very much. Bye.